Hi, everybody. It's Dr. Lisa. When I was out in the community recently, someone handed me a newspaper, and here is the midsection. It says in bright letters, hopefully you can read that, "Don't let them vaccinate you." So I wanted to bring someone on today who can shed a little bit of light on the rationale behind this, and maybe we can talk through a few things. Just tell people who you are briefly. This is a short conversation, so.
I am Salim Adofo. In some circles, I'm known as DJ 360 Degrees, the supreme knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Some places, I'm just Brother Salim.
And why are you known as 360 Degrees Understanding?
360 Degrees of supreme knowledge, wisdom, and understanding.
Why?
That's my DJ name. The record spins in 360 degrees. The shape of a record is 360 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
And we try to make sure that people have a complete cipher. We're trying to, share our gifts with the world.
Yeah.
So that's knowledge and understanding.
And you are also someone who likes to be inclusive of different voices and opinions, which is another reason I wanted to chat with you, because I know you are a listener and a leader in the community. So I really want to talk to you about this newspaper I received when I was walking down the street, actually not far from your rally. And I'm an infectious disease doc. I work for CDC. I consider myself a trusted messenger in the community. And I think you do too. But this is this was the insert. And I want to just have an open conversation about this, because I know there are a lot of different opinions about the vaccine and concerns about the vaccine, but this is the first time I had seen this. Don't let them vaccinate you. Tell me what's the thought behind this, and what are your thoughts about it?
I didn't pass that out, so I didn't even know that was somebody else that passed that out.
Yeah, they were passing out the final call, actually, and this was an insert in the paper. And so even if it's not your position, I suspect because of your leadership in the community and the people you come in contact with, you have some thoughts about where this is coming from, so we can talk about it.
So I don't think that we can act like white people did not purposely give Black people diseases. And so if historically that's been what happened, why all of a sudden should we trust you now? Because it's not as if in between the time that you did that and to now, you treated Black people well. And before you did that, you treated Black people bad then. So if you have a history of treating Black people bad, why should we believe that you're going to do something that is in our best interest now? And so I can't get mad at anybody that doesn't subscribe to the recommendations of people that have historically oppressed them, socially degraded them, and economically exploited them since day one. And those are some big sounding words, but I mean, essentially we were kidnapped, taken hostage, brought here, been raped, been beaten to death, had wounds ripped open, shot to death, and it's not ever stopped. And so then if that same institution says, I got a vaccine for you, it's not uncommon to think that it's not shocking to think that people would not believe you.
I think, I was one of the vaccine trial participants. The reason I did that was because I wanted people to know that despite what happened in Tuskegee, the men had syphilis. They weren't given syphilis, but they withheld the treatment. And here we have a vaccine that can help prevent deaths and hospitalizations. I wanted people to see from my perspective, I understand how the science works, I understand how research works. And I wanted them to see, because of Tuskegee, we actually have the power to refuse, to agree to participate or not participate in research. All of that comes as a result of the Tuskegee experiment. And so I want to talk a little bit about this. It's a bit of a disconnect. I agree with what you're saying. There's lots of reasons to be distrustful. And when reporters call me to ask me about Tuskegee, I say, you don't have to reach back 40 years to understand this. You can go into a hospital system today and see how people are treated. But with respect to the vaccine, if you look at who's getting the vaccine most, it's actually not us. So when people tell me I don't want to be a guinea pig, I say, well, there are, hundreds of millions of people who've gotten this vaccine and are not Black people. So I think there is a little bit of a disconnect when it comes to this vaccine. And so what do you think is driving that distrust about this vaccine? Because the 𝗠cie𝗂𝘁 and other experiments are not linked specifically to this vaccine. And we know Black people are dying at higher rates. Even in our city, we're getting it more than anybody else. So I'm trying to tease out this.
We can't erase the past. And
we're not trying to. We need to learn from it, right?
Right. So what I mean by we can't erase the past is that's where the distrust comes from. At what point in time should people of African descent have ever trusted European people, since they've not stopped doing some of the things that they've done to put us in a difficult space? Right. So I can't get mad at somebody that says, I'm not trusting that.
Yeah.
Or that is also encouraging other people to not trust it. Right. And we live in a community right now where there's so many different things that don't go well for us because we're Black.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the stuff just has never stopped. And so that same institution is saying, hey, trust us on this.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't expect people to trust it.
So who do you think the messenger should be for something that's actually helpful? And of course, vaccines, just like medications, even an aspirin, they all have risks.
Right.
Getting COVID is much worse. We've seen the devastation caused by COVID, much worse than getting a vaccine. So who needs to be communicating this information?
I ultimately think that people are going to have to make, their own personal choices. I looked at some of the information, and I participated in a mass vaccination event to help bring the attention to people to help say, hey, here's the information. You make an informed choice based upon the information that you were given.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I didn't do the research, so I can't speak to it. I'm trusting that the people who did the research aren't lying.
Right.
Right. But I'm also somebody who's in a position to encourage people to do their own research as well. Unfortunately, we can go do some research, but we may not know what we're looking at.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I found in this process is some people had to sign a waiver, or I think everybody had to sign a waiver to say that they understand that this vaccine is not 100% effective, and that they're
just
going
like
to,
all medications they
right,
ever took, right?
and that they're not going to hold the people who are administering it liable if something goes wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So that doesn't help people's confidence. That if my sister goes in there and she comes out and says, well, they're telling me to trust this, but they don't want to be held responsible if something goes wrong, that doesn't help, my brother's trust in it. If they're saying, hey, I'm going to get this to you, but if something goes wrong, don't look at me, right?
I think one thing we haven't done is a good job communicating that people do have alternatives for suing for an adverse outcome. The language people have been talking about related to these vaccines, it was seen as a deterrent. People being able to sue could hold up progress on these vaccines, but even with that, there is a recourse for people who have been harmed by a vaccine. So I just want people to know that's out there. It's just that we don't do a great job communicating holistically about this.
I concur.
Yeah. So this, the other thing this paper says is we need our Black epidemiologists, virologists, students of biology and chemistry to basically inform our community. So is that enough? So I'm a Black doctor. Mm-hmm. You see me out in the community, I care very much about the community, and I try to tell people straight. I try to tell them in a way they understand. Is that enough?
Well, I'm not an authority to speak to something I didn't write. So I would say that you have to talk to the people that wrote it. But I would say that we do need our doctors that understand the plight that we have to be more aggressive
Mm-hmm.
and
And what
communicate.
does that mean? What does that look like, being more aggressive?
I look at it as saying, if you're in this community, connect with some people, maybe in some small circles, and have some conversations, have some study sessions, and start to educate people. You know, we're destroyed for a lack of knowledge. So the more information and knowledge that we can have, you know, the better we are and the better we can make informed decisions. And that just doesn't start today, right? I mean, we got to have a history of doing that. So when something does pop up like this, that trust is already there. And we already got an informed group of people that know how to be more proactive in some things. So they're just not always reactionary. We're responding to a lot of things as opposed to already being on offense to deal with it, or not have it happen to us at all because we've already been in good shape.
Yeah. So how can we work together on that?
You just said it, right? Let's get together with some groups of folks and we can host some sessions and, you know, get people on the right track.
Yeah. I don't want to take up any more of your time. This has been a great chat. Is there anything else you want to say before we go?
I always encourage folks to, you know, read and research and, you know, try to make the best decision that you can make. Be a critical thinker and, you know, ask questions. Ask as many questions as you can as it pertains to your health or anything else. But just overall, from the conversation that we've been having, we're responsible for our own destiny. So we're going to have to organize to get the things that we want. They're just not going to pop up out of anywhere. So become part of an organization. Organize, organize, organize.
I love it. Okay, well, I'll be in touch and thank you so much for your time.